Hello everyone. Sorry, give me just a second. My camera is in a odd little spot here today, so I just want to make sure that that is looking right for you guys. Welcome in everyone. Seeing some regulars here already. I guess this is afternoon for me. Whatever time of day it is for you guys, welcome in. Thank you for joining us here today. Gonna get my nails ready to go. Actually, probably just one nail here to start with, and I've got a couple other nails that I've pre-done for our demo today. But we're gonna get into some basics with acrylic today, and then we're gonna do some fun stamping designs. We've still been getting a lot of requests and a lot of questions for education on stamping. So we're gonna add that into our design here today. But welcome in everybody, welcome in. One last thing I need to do before we get into our nails here. You guys, the table towels that I've got on my table here, they come in the big pieces like you see right here. I like to cut those up into smaller pieces for when I'm working on my acrylics and actually with some of my stamping kind of procedures. So that's what I'm going to do here really quick. Just cut up some of these table towels into smaller pieces so that we've got them a little bit easier, a little more convenient to use as we are working. So I'm cutting those into quarters, and then I'm going to fold those again, and we'll cut them into those smaller little squares. And one more time here. You guys, this is just one little trick that works for me, makes life a little bit easier. And if you're working in salon, I always recommend doing things like this when you have some downtime. So maybe if you had a break in between clients, or maybe if a client had to cancel last minute and you weren't able to get another client in, doing things like that, prepping your table towels, prepping your files, all those kind of things are a great thing to do when you have kind of that downtime during the salon. So just a little suggestion for you there. All right, you guys, we are going to do some kind of back to basics today. So we're going to be working with acrylic, and the color that I was going to be working with today is our Cover Pink Opal. You guys, let me do a quick little swatch of this so you can see what it looks like. Again, that's one of my little table towels here that I've already cut. But the Cover Pink Opal is a beautiful color, and I love using it around the holidays. So if you take a quick look in there, let me grab my Dappen dish. I've got a little old monomer here. I'm going to change that out in just a second. But just so you guys can see the really pretty Cover Pink Opal. See a little bit of what that looks like. Camera does not do this near the justice that you see on here. It really is a gorgeous cover pink color with a little bit of that gold shimmer to it. So those of you that have the new Pink Opal gel, it's kind of similar to that. So you can kind of compare the two of those. They both have kind of that pearl shimmer, that kind of gold shimmer to it. So I was going to use this today in our demo, but then I found my little sample of our Core White Sparkle. And you guys, either one of these colors I love to use around the holidays. The Core White Sparkle is a soft white. It's not that super bright white, but it has just a beautiful shimmer to it as well. So two really great colors. I still am not quite sure which one I want to work with today. I think I'm kind of leaning towards the Core White Sparkle, but you guys let me know in the chat, which one do you want to see today? Do you want to see the Cover Pink Opal, or do you want to see the Core White Sparkle? Let me know in the chat what you would prefer to see today, and we'll go with that. But just let me know what you guys are liking, what you want to see here. All right, so let me clean out my brush here really quick, pop that back in, and let's go ahead and get started on our nail. All right, we're not doing ombre, you guys. I knew people were gonna say, let's do an ombre. We're not doing ombre today. We're gonna be doing some stamping a little bit later on, but I'm seeing it's kind of about half and half. I don't know if we can do now, moderators, can we do a poll in here? I can't remember if we can do that or not. But if we can do a poll, maybe let's do a poll. Otherwise, I'll try to kind of keep looking here. But it's really looking like it's about 50-50. So, all right, you guys, we're going to get started. Oh, yes, moderators are telling us we can do a poll. All right, you guys, we're going to do a poll. So make sure once we get that poll up there, vote for whether you want the cover white or the core white sparkle or the cover pink opal. That's a lot of words, you guys, I know. But we'll get that poll up in the chat there for you. In the meantime, let's go ahead and start by prepping our nails. So we're always going to go through all of the steps for prepping. We're going to push back the cuticles, and you guys, whether it's on the trainer hand or on your real person, always go through and do those steps, because what you get in the habit of doing on your trainer hands, that's what you're going to be in the habit of doing when you actually get to a real live person. So if you forget and you're not going through that repetition of pushing back the cuticles when you're doing your practice, you're going to forget to do that on a trainer hand, or on a real person, okay? So make sure, go through, push back those cuticles, and then we are going to grab our e-file. And right now I've got my mandrel and sanding band in there. I've got an old sanding band in there. I'm going to take that out. I'm just going to kind of put pressure on there, slide that old sanding band off, and I'm going to grab a brand new sanding band. And I always like to remind you guys to make sure that you are changing out your sanding bands. Grab a new one every time. And the reason for this is really a couple of different reasons. First of all, these old sanding bands are not sanitizable and disinfectable, so you can't wash them. If you do wash them, then they start to kind of peel away a little bit. But then also, if you kind of take a look, so the old one is on the right and the new one is on the left. Let me see if I can come in a little closer here and get you a better view. So you can see the old one on the right here, that has been worn down. The new one on the left has really good grit to it. So you always want to make sure that you're using a good new sanding band rather than one that's kind of dulled down. Okay, the one that's dull isn't going to really do a lot of work for you. That brand new one is going to make your job nice and easy. All right, you guys, so we got that poll up in the chat. Make sure you vote for which color you want to use or you want to see today. Do you want to see that core white sparkle or the cover pink opal? So put that in our little poll here. All right, so let's get our sanding band on here. Now you guys kind of see I wasn't able to press that sanding band all the way onto our bit here. So I'm going to put that bit all the way down into my handpiece, lock that in, and then I'm going to turn this over. Let me come back out here. I'm going to just turn that over and I'm going to press that sanding band down on there, and it's going to slide that sanding band all the way back onto that bit. Now the reason that I didn't leave the bit out farther like this is because if you were to put pressure onto that, it's actually going to slide that bit all the way back in, and that can start to kind of wear out that mechanism that holds your bit in there. So you want to make sure that if you do have to press that sanding band down, make sure your bit is all the way in there, okay? And then another thing, make sure that if you're pressing that down, make sure that you're actually holding that handpiece in your palm. You're not pressing down on that top part. You don't want to put a crimp in that in that cord, okay? So make sure that you're holding the handpiece, press that down, okay? All right, we are going to turn our electric file to about 5,000 RPMs. I'll come in here really quick. And we're going to work right up around our cuticle area. So just right up, kind of in a circular kind of a motion, right up around that cuticle area, just lightly, basically making contact and then pulling that bit around. Okay, so just a couple of quick little strokes all the way around that cuticle is all you really need. Okay, once we've got that bit all the way into that top left corner, we're now at kind of a diagonal position to that nail. So at this point, I'm going to keep my bit at that diagonal. I'm not going to work across the nail this way. I'm going to work in a diagonal this way. Okay, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to do just kind of a quick feathering motion. Now, those of you that are beginners, I'm going to come back out here. If you're a beginner and you're not really comfortable with that feathering motion just yet, slow that down and then just basically come across the nail, pick up the bit, across the nail, pick up the bit, across, pick up the bit. So do you kind of see again how I'm working a little bit more at a diagonal? So coming across that nail here. Once you start to get comfortable with that coming across the nail and picking up the bit, the faster you're going to be able to do that. So the more you practice, the easier this is going to get, and you're going to be able to just go through and feather that nail really, really quickly. Okay? All right. Once we remove the shine from the nail, I'm going to grab my lovely little manicure brush. We're going to dust that nail really, really well. Now you guys don't just give it a quick little dust like that, okay? Get in there and give it a good scrub. That way you're going to be able to pull out all of the dust all the way around the cuticle area, down along those sidewalls. And notice that I'm kind of scrubbing in an up and down motion here. I'm not going across. If you brush across, a lot of times what happens is it just pushes the dust down into those sidewalls. If you're brushing back and forth in this direction, then that's going to pull all of that dust out of that cuticle area and down from along those sidewalls. Okay, so all of these little tiny details really do make a difference. So make sure that you're giving that nail a really good scrub. Once we've cleaned all of the dust off, then we're going to come into our swipe. Now swipe is our cleanser, and the swipe is going to help to remove any of those last little bits of dust that may be on the nail, but it's also going to help remove any germs, any bacteria, any extra oils that may still be stuck on the nail. So this is going to really give that nail a good cleansing, okay? Just like when I was brushing off the dust, I don't just give it a quick little swipe, swipe, swipe. Now I know that's the name of it, but you actually want to get in there and give it a good scrub, okay? So it's called swipe, but really scrub it, okay? So get in there, get that nail nice and clean, and that's gonna be your best way of prepping the nails. Now you're gonna be able to see that nail is, right now it's got a little bit of that swipe still on it. It's looking kind of wet. Can definitely see around the sides here as well. But as that nail is drying, you're going to start to see it come back to kind of a chalky look. Now it's starting, so you guys can kind of start to see again, it's going to start to get back to that chalky look. Okay, let me grab my next product that we're going to use. So we want to make sure that the nail does come back to that dry, kind of that dry, chalky look all the way around, even up around this cuticle area. You want to make sure that that's nice and clean, nice and dry before you put your protein bond on. Now, protein bond is our bonder, and it kind of works like a double-sided tape. So you can see it says non-acid adhesion. This is not technically a primer. This is a bonder, and there's a difference. So primers tend to have methacrylic acid to them, whereas our protein bond is non-acid adhesion. So it's a lot safer. Okay, protein bond does work like a double-sided tape. It kind of anchors your product down to the nail. So you still want to make sure that you're being very careful when you're putting your protein bond on. Just because it doesn't have that acid to it, doesn't mean that you can slop it all over the nail and all over the cuticle and all of that kind of stuff. It is still a chemical, and any chemical you want to make sure that you're keeping off the nail, or sorry, off the skin and off that cuticle area. So when I pick up my protein bond, I'm going to lift my brush out and I'm going to tap off some of that extra, okay? I don't want to just pick my brush up and flood that whole brush onto the nail. I want to just kind of tap out a little bit of that extra. And then I'm also going to start more towards the center of the nail, and I'm going to brush that out to the sides. So again, this way it's going to keep me from flooding that product at the cuticle area or into those sidewalls, okay? So just a nice even application. Now, if you are doing maybe a set of gel polish or gel manicure, one coat of protein bond works just fine. But when I'm doing my enhancements, whether it's acrylic or hard gel, I always like to do 2 coats. So I'm going to go back and do a second coat. And then we'll just bring that all the way up. And that second coat is just going to really ensure that we've got great adhesion and that we've got a good even application. See a comment in the chat, sometimes you need acid bond. Honestly, you guys, with our Young Nails product, I don't recommend using a regular acid primer. It's not necessary. If you do find that you need that, a different kind of primer, I would go back and really check your prep and check your application to make sure that you're doing everything properly. With Young Nails products, we don't need to have a different primer. The protein bond works great with our products. Okay, so other products, maybe you might need a different primer, but with Young Nails, I don't recommend other primers. I recommend the protein bond. All right, so I've got my Dappen dish here. Okay, you guys, I'm going to clean out my Dappen dish, and moderators, let me know what our final vote here was. Let me know what our final vote on whether we're going to be using Core White Sparkle today or if we're going to be using the Cover Pink Opal. Let me know if you could, please. And in the meantime, I'm just cleaning out my Dappen dish. I had a little bit of extra monomer in there from the last time I used it, so I'm going to just clean that out, and then we will refill with nice, clean, fresh monomer. You always want to make sure that you're using good, fresh monomer, clean monomer, every time you do your service. So if you're trying to reuse monomer, it's not going to give you the best results. You're not going to be able to pick up those pearls as well. So make sure that you're always using clean, fresh monomer. I'm just going to touch my brush to the top of the hand or top of the bottle there. We're going to pour down, straight down the brush, and that's going to go right into our Dappen dish without spilling or dribbling anything down the side there. All right, let's see here. Okay, so I'm checking the poll. All right, you guys, Cover Pink Opal is at 51%, 52%, Core White Sparkle is at 48%. So by just a bare minimum, you guys chose the Cover Pink Opal. So we'll go ahead and use the Cover Pink Opal. And I will go ahead and end that poll. So you guys, thank you so much for voting. And we will go ahead and use the Cover Pink Opal. All right, so let me grab again a couple of those table towels that I've cut up. Now, a couple of things, you guys. I want to walk you through how we're going to pick up our product before we actually put that onto the nail, because when you're working with acrylic, you want to make sure that you're getting good consistency. You don't want to just take your brush, wipe out all of your liquid out of your brush, and then just kind of try to scoop and scrape and pick up product. You guys, that is not going to work. Let me come in and show you what is going on here. Look at how chunky and dry and actually kind of flat that pearl is. That is not going to be an easy pearl to work with, okay? And I think a lot of times when people are starting off with acrylic, if they don't learn the proper techniques of picking up their pearl, they're gonna struggle. So you guys, I know sometimes we spend a little bit of extra time showing you how to pick the pearl up, but it's really important. So a couple of things that I just want to make sure that you guys understand is that when you take your brush out of the liquid, first of all, let's talk about the liquid. If we take a look in there, I don't know if you can see in there, but you guys can see I don't fill my Dappen dish all the way to the top. I only have that maybe to the top of the bristles because I don't need to flood my brush, okay? If you were to fill your Dappen dish all the way to the top, you would never be able to wipe out and get the proper consistency and get the proper amount of liquid in your brush. So only fill it as much as you need. That's about what I would use for a full set. So only fill it as much as you need. And like I was saying earlier, always start with fresh liquid, okay? So let's talk about what's going on in our Dappen dish. So as I work, I give my brush kind of just a little bit of a press down. Now let me show you. So what's happening when I put my brush into the liquid, I just give it just a kind of a little soft press. I don't try to kill it. I don't try to jam it down in there. What that is actually going to do, if you use too much pressure, you can start to kind of bend or crimp the bristles right at the back here, and that can actually start to break the bristles. So you want to make sure that if you are pressing down, you're just kind of gently pressing. You're not trying to bend the whole entire brush down, okay? So again, in the liquid, you're going to press down your brush. Now the reason for that, couple of different things. When you press down your brush, it's actually going to release any of the little air bubbles that are inside that, in those bristles. So in between all those little bristles, there's air. By pressing down your brush, that releases those air bubbles, and those air bubbles don't end up in your acrylic bead, okay? The other thing that this is going to do is when you press that brush down, again, it's going to spread out those bristles, and it's going to allow your brush, when you lift back up, it's going to allow it to absorb more of that liquid. So again, pressing down, you can kind of see I'm going to press that down a little bit. It's going to release those air bubbles, but it's also going to help to absorb that liquid. If you kind of think about it like a sponge, when you wring out your sponge, you kind of squeeze out that extra liquid, you wring that out, and then when you relax that and you kind of I guess unclench it, then it's going to be able to absorb all of that liquid again. Same kind of thing with your acrylic brush. So again, when you press down, it releases the air bubbles and absorbs that liquid, okay? All right, so again, just kind of pressing out those air bubbles, pressing out and making that brush able to absorb a little bit more. Okay, now we are going to wipe out our brush to pick up the proper size of bead. What you want to keep in mind, let me readjust this so you guys can see. Do you see how my brush has a label on it? The label is in line with a crimp. There's a little crimp right here on the ferrule. Let me see if I can come in a little closer. You guys will be able to see that. So you just see how right here there's a little crimp. So it's not a rounded brush, so it's kind of flat when I turn it this direction and a little bit wider when I turn it this direction. That's because the ferrule of the brush has been crimped right here, okay? You always want to make sure that you have that crimp. So again, that label is in line with the flat part of the crimp, okay? Just kind of a little guideline for you. You always want to make sure that you're tapping the back side of the brush, not the side of the brush when you're releasing liquid, okay? So let me come in again a little bit closer. So again, you're going to tap the back side of the brush, not the side of the brush. You don't want to be tapping the edge, okay? That's how you're going to get that proper release of liquid, okay? So we're going to come into our dish. We're going to press out the back side. Now you guys see what happens when you press the back side is you're going to get a little bit of liquid draining out, okay? So press, it's going to drain out. Press, it's going to drain out. So every time you press, it's going to drain out more liquid. So if you want to pick up a large pearl, you're going to leave more liquid in your brush. If you want to pick up a smaller pearl, you're going to drain more liquid. So maybe for a large pearl, you may want to just tap one time. For a smaller pearl, or maybe let's just say a medium pearl, you'll tap twice. For a smaller pearl, you'll tap a third time. Okay, so just kind of depends on how big of a pearl you want to pick up is how much liquid you're going to leave in your brush, okay? Now, one thing that I see a lot of newbies doing is they take their brush and they either run their brush all the way up the backside of, or the backside of the brush all the way up the Dappen dish, or they'll take their brush and they'll scrape their brush on the back, okay? Both of these techniques are going to wipe out too much liquid out of the brush, okay? So you want to make sure that you're going into that liquid and just tap right in the center of the brush. So kind of that center part, not back here, not down here, right in that center, and that's going to release the proper amount of liquid, okay? Now, when we go to pick up our pearl, what we want to make sure that we're doing is, again, this is where that label comes in handy, okay? So keep in mind, this is going to be the front of your brush. The part that has the label here, that's going to be the front of your brush. So when you're picking up your pearl, you're dabbing off the back side of your brush. Now we're going to use the front side of our brush. So the side with that label on it, we're going to use the front side to pick up our pearl. The reason for that is because if we've pressed out the liquid out of the back side and then try to pick up with the back side, we don't have as much liquid in the back, okay? All of our liquid is on the front side of our brush, so that's the side that we want to work with, okay? Now, another thing I want you guys to notice is if you take a look at your brush, do you see how it's darker right at the top part here? That's the area that you're going to use to pick up the pearl. You don't want your pearl getting all the way back up into the lighter area. If it does start getting back up into that lighter area, that's when you're going to clog your brush, okay? How many of you guys, anybody that's actually doing nails, how many of you guys have had a clogged brush where you've got acrylic kind of jammed up and stuck in here and then your brush gets hard and thick and chunky? Let me know in the chat. Give me, I don't even want to say a thumbs up because this is not a thumbs up time, but let me know in the chat if you guys have had that issue happening, okay? Looks like a few of you. So again, we want to make sure that when we're picking up that product, it's only staying in that little dark area right at the top there, okay? All right, you guys, those of you that are saying that you've had that happen, have you guys all been subscribed to our channel here? Has everybody hit that little subscribe button? If you haven't, make sure that you do that. So that way you can keep getting all of this great free education, okay? So let's continue on. How do we actually pick up that pearl then? So we're gonna press out the back side of our brush. We're gonna turn the brush over. I'm gonna use the front side. Now, a lot of times what happens is people get overly aggressive when they are trying to pick up their pearl. So they just kind of sometimes jam that brush into the product. They kind of swirl it around, or they kind of do a little circular thing like this, or like I showed you before, they just kind of scratch down into it. You guys, what happened? I just got a big old chunk that fell off of my brush, and it's going to start to kind of clog up my powder, okay? So all of those techniques, all of those things are not going to help you pick up a good pearl, Okay, so what we want to do instead of all of those different things, again, we're going to press out the back of our brush. We're going to turn our brush over, use the front side, tap down tap down that powder. You guys see me do this quite a few times. I always tap down the surface of this so I have a nice clean spot to wipe. I don't want to just keep coming in and picking up pearls right through that center area and then just try to keep working like that. Always tap that down because you're going to give yourself now a nice clean space to pick up that pearl, okay? Sydney's asking, do you think it's okay to crimp your brush? You guys, our brushes come with that crimp. This is a great question that we actually get a lot of people asking. But all of our brushes, all of our acrylic brushes do come with a crimp in them already. If you get a brush that doesn't have that, if it's all just the brush itself is round all the way through, I don't recommend crimping it yourself. The brush is, let me kind of clean this out a little bit. The brush is manufactured with the bristles in the proper shape. So if you try to crimp this, you're actually going to change the shape of your brush. You guys see how the bristles on the sides here, let me kind of pull those out a little bit. Do you see how they kind of, that one needs to come into the center, but they kind of form kind of that oval shape? If you were to actually crimp your brush, you're going to push those bristles out of alignment. So they're not going to be in that same rounded shape that they were intended to be. So I do not recommend crimping your own brush. But like I said, all of our acrylic brushes do come with that crimp in them. And I find that this oval shaped brush works really, really well for picking up and applying your products. And a couple of people are asking, what brush am I using? This is the Young Nails. You guys, everything I'm using here today is Young Nails, but this is Greg's Signature Series number 12 brush. So it's a size 12, and it's an awesome, awesome brush. You guys, I absolutely love this one. Okay, so how do we pick up our pearl then? Let's tap off the back side of our brush. Turn that over. We're going to use the front side, and we're going to do kind of a press and pull motion in one. So let me come in here a little closer so you can see what I mean. So I'm going to press my brush down, but I'm going to pull it to the side, kind of just in that one motion. So press and pull, and then we're going to bounce our brush. Now the reason that we're going to do that press and pull, and I'm not just going to set my brush down in there. Do you see what happens if I just set my brush in there? I get product on the back side of my brush. I want to keep the back side of my brush nice and clean so that I can have a nice clean application to the nail. So that's why we're going to do kind of a press and pull. So let me pick up my liquid, press, pull. Okay, so that way it's going to keep the product on the front side of the brush. Okay, I'm just going to kind of flatten. Actually, I'm going to give this a little bit of a quick stir. I think there was a little bit of a chunk in there somewhere, but I think we'll be okay. All right, sometimes you guys, it helps to kind of fluff up your powders a little bit, if you will. So again, we're going to pick up our pearl. I'm going to press and pull, and then I'm going to bounce, bounce, bounce. Now what that does is it's going to allow me to pick up a nice shaped pearl, okay? The reason that we bounce, let me show you here one more time. So again, we're going to press and pull, bounce, bounce. Every time you press that brush down, it's going to release liquid, lift up, it's going to pick up powder. Release liquid, pick up powder. Release liquid, pick up powder. So that way you're going to get a nice, as Greg calls it, a nice fluffy pearl, okay? A pearl with really good consistency to it. So again, we're going to tap the side. We're going to press, bounce, 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 keeping that pearl right on that dark area at the top part of my brush on one side. So now you can see I don't have any product on the back side of my brush. So when I do set that down onto the nail, it's going to release nice and easily, okay? If I did have product, let me clean that off my nail here, but if I did have product on the back of my brush, if I came in at kind of the wrong angle, and then I went to set that onto the nail, when I lift up, do you see how all of that product sticks to the backside of my brush? And then I'm going to have a harder time applying that, and it's probably going to start to get chunky in my brush. So make sure that you're keeping that backside of your brush nice and clean. Okay, let me clean my nail off. And you guys, this is another reason that I do use the smaller cut up pieces of my table towels, because this way, you guys, obviously when you're working on clients, you're probably not going to be putting product on yourself, but it helps to have those little extra pieces. So when your table towel does get a little bit dirty, you can always have a clean kind of a space to wipe your brush on. Which is another good thing to note, is when you are wiping your brush on your table towel, maybe if you have a little product in your brush, wipe that on your table towel. Make sure that you're actually wiping your brush. Okay, let me come in here a little bit. A lot of times I see people and they'll pick up their pearl, or maybe they just have a little product left on their brush and they just kind of give their brush a dab on the towel. You're still going to leave product in your brush. Make sure that you're actually pulling that brush all the way across that table towel, flip it over to the other side, pull that brush, and that's what's going to really help to release that product from your brush, okay? And always make sure that you're wiping in a different area on your brush. Don't always wipe your brush right here, okay? Again, a lot of times what people do is they'll pick up and they'll wipe their brush there, and they'll wipe there, and then maybe they'll do another one, and they just keep wiping all in that same spot. And what that does, that area is going to get saturated and it's never going to be able to clean that brush again, okay? So make sure that you're always wiping your brush in a different area anywhere on that table towel, and then you can change out that table towel and get a fresh one as needed, okay? So lots of different helpful tricks here. Let's go ahead and start working on our nail. So we're going to put a form on our nail. And I'm going to take my form, just peel that right off the back of the paper. I'm going to take that little tab from the center, and we're going to stick that on the back side of our form, okay? We're going to pinch our form together. These two little silver tabs, we're going to pinch those together as evenly as we can get them so that our nail is going to end up nice and straight, nice and even. Now, let's get our form up under the nail. I'm going to open up that little perforation up at the top. And let's see, do we want to do a square nail today? Do we want to do a stiletto? Oh, what should we do? What should we do? Maybe we'll do a longer square nail today, I think. So for a square nail, I'm going to leave this end open, okay? So we're going to leave that end open. If you're going to be doing a stiletto or a coffin shape, you could pinch that end together to start giving you more of that, that stiletto or coffin shape. But I think we're going to do excuse me, I think we're going to do a square shape today, just for a little fun, something different. So once again, we'll stick that little tab on the back, pinch our two tabs together nice and evenly, leave that end open, open up that top perforation. Just going to kind of press that a little bit wider. And let's go ahead and get this up underneath our nail. Now I'm starting with my form at just a slight downward angle. I'm not just trying to shove that form right up underneath that free edge. I'm going to start at that slight downward angle, catch that free edge, and then I'm going to lift up at the end of the form. So I'm going to show you guys this from the side view so you know what it actually looks like. So again, we're going to catch that free edge right underneath. I'm going to lift up with my form, just until that form comes out nice and straight, and then we'll secure it down on the sides. Okay, so now our form is coming nice and straight out from that free edge. If we take a look here, we want to make sure that that form is nice and straight. So this bold silver line should be coming straight in line with our whole entire finger. So if I take my orange wood stick, line that up with the whole finger, that looks like it's a little bit off center. Okay, so I'm going to adjust this. Take that form off a little bit, readjust that, move it over just a little bit, and then I'm going to secure that back down onto our nail. So now if I take another look, now that bold line down the center of my form is straight in line with the finger, so I know that my nail is going to be nice and straight. Okay, I think I just want to make one more little adjustment here just to really make sure everything is nice and even. Okay, I'm going to kind of pinch underneath here a little bit. I'm still going to leave that end open, but now we're going to be able to use the lines on our form going across here and down the length of the form. Those are going to be kind of our guideline, okay? Now, when we're picking up our pearl for our free edge, we want to bring this pearl to a little bit more of a clay-like consistency. So I'm going to press, bounce, bounce. I'm going to take that pearl and I'm going to drain out a little bit of the liquid onto my table towel. And what that's going to do, let me actually show you what that's going to do. Let me grab another form here. So if we were to pick up our pearl and not drain out any of the liquid, and just put that right onto our form, do you see how quickly that product is going to start to move? It's going to start to flow. It's going to start to kind of run down the length of the form. If we take that same pearl, press, bounce, bounce, I'm going to drain out some of that extra liquid, and then we set that onto our form. You can see it's going to start to kind of soften just a little bit, but it's not going to run as quickly. This pearl is a little bit more in kind of a clay form. It's a little bit more firm feeling, and I can really kind of mold and kind of move that product without having to chase it. Okay, so when we're working on our free edge, we want that more clay-like product. We want something to where we can actually kind of guide it into place rather than it flowing. Now we'll talk about having our product flow a little bit more in just a second here, but for our free edge, we want to make sure that that product is going to be more clay-like, okay? So we're going to pick up our pearl. I'm going to take that pearl and set my brush down onto my towel for a count of 3 to 4, and then I'm going to set that onto my form. Press that pearl down onto the form. I'm going to wipe out my brush. I'm going to use the belly of the brush to press that product out evenly from side to side. I'm going to use the edge of my brush to tuck that in. Now I'm going to again use the belly of the brush to walk that bulk up into the corners. Use the edge of your brush to tuck in, walk that bulk up into the corner. Press in with the edge, walk all the way across. And you guys, when I say walk across, I'm just pressing across to make sure that everything is nice and even. On this side, again, use the edge of my brush, press in on the side, walk that bulk up into the corner. Press in on the side. Now again, I'm going to walk all the way back across, making sure my product is nice and even. And then if we want to, we can start to kind of use a little more pressure with more of the base of the brush to start to bring that product a little bit thinner, a little bit more tapered down to the free edge, still tucking in with the side of my brush, but again, keeping that product nice and smooth over the whole surface. Okay, now at this point, everything is looking pretty good. If I need to, and if I still have time, I can use a little bit more of the base of the brush and I can touch up that square free edge. But you guys, I'm not going to worry about that too much. That's kind of the last step that I do, because if I don't get that free edge perfect, it's fine. I'm going to come back through with my electric file and I'm going to zip right off the end. Okay, so I don't have to make sure that that's nice and perfect. But if you've got time and your product hasn't set yet, turn your brush on the side, use more of kind of the base of the brush, but the edge of the brush here. So right through the edge here, and just kind of use that to tuck right up in there. Okay. Okay, so we've got our free edge done. And again, you guys, the free edge we did in more of that clay form. Now, when we're working up by the cuticle area, this is where we actually want our product to flow a little bit more. So for our cuticle application, we're not going to drain out and make it clay form. This one, we are going to still pick up that pearl. Let's come in here. So just like we've been doing, tap off the back side. Oops, you guys can see that. There we go. So we're going to tap off the back side. We're going to press, bounce, bounce, bounce. Now this one, I'm just going to hold for a count of, say, 3 to 4. So let me come in here again so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. So again, we're going to press, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm just going to hold 1, 2, 3, 4. And in those 4 seconds, it goes from more of kind of a clay or orange peel texture to more of that smooth, shiny pearl look. So I'm going to do this again, you guys. So I want you to really kind of pay close attention here. So look really closely when I pick up the pearl and watch it go in those 4 seconds from that orange peel to a smooth pearl. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now it's at that smooth pearl look. That's where we're going to set that down onto our nail. So it's important to let that product just kind of polymerize, just kind of set just a little bit. Otherwise, it's going to run out of control. So by just waiting those 4 seconds, we're going to have a little bit more control with our product. Now, one other thing here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to angle the finger almost straight downward. I'm going to press that pearl right at the cuticle area. I'm going to start in the center, press out to the sides, pivot my brush when I get to the side. That's how you're going to get that really nice tight cuticle area. and just kind of letting that product flow down the length of the nail. So again, pivot my brush on those sides and let it flow. Yeah, just a little bit right off the edge there. I'm going to lift up now. I'm going to just blend out just the edge of that pearl. Okay, what this is going to do is this is going to keep my product nice and thick right there at my stress area. So if we guys take a look from the side, okay, by having my brush at that 45-degree angle, I was actually at this angle. So the nail was angled downward, and I was using my brush at a 45-degree angle to that cuticle area to press out that cuticle. Again, when you get to those sides, pivot your brush so that your brush is on the side. If we take a look at it from the front here, so again, press, press, pivot your brush, and that's how you're going to get that nice tapered cuticle area. Come back to the center, press, press, pivot your brush to that side. Okay, allow that product to run down the length of the nail. Once it gets to about here, that's where you're going to lift up, and now you're going to have that nail flat, and then you're going to blend out that, just kind of that edge of the product. I'm not blending all the way from that back cuticle area. The reason for that is we want to leave a little bit of thickness right here. This is our stress area. This is where that nail needs to be a little bit thicker. So if you were to jam that nail into something, all of that pressure is going to go right here. So we need that area right through here to be a little bit thicker and a little bit stronger. Okay, now we do need to build in a little bit more structure right through this area. So on this pearl, I'm going to do kind of a combination between that clay-like consistency and the wet consistency that we used here. Now, when we were getting that clay-like consistency, what we were doing, we picked up our pearl and we drained that out for about a count of 4. Okay, now I don't want to go that dry with my pearl in this area. I want it to flow a little bit, but not too much. So I'm going to pick up my pearl here. I'm going to drain it for just 1, 2. I'm going to turn my brush around, set that pearl down, blend it back up into that stress area, back up into that thicker area, and then I'm going to turn my brush around, and now I can use more pressure with my brush to guide that down to the free edge. Okay, so just kind of pressing that bulk down to the free edge, and then blend that out all the way down to the end. Press if you need to, blend where you need to, but just kind of blending and moving that product down to the free edge so that it stays nice and tapered at the free edge. If you need to, you can turn your brush back around, blend that back up to that arch. And I think I need maybe just a tiny little bit more right through here. So I'm going to pick up just a tiny little pearl. I'm going to tap that back down. So again, we're just going to kind of tap out a little bit more of that liquid out of my brush. I'm going to pick up just a tiny, tiny little pearl. I'm going to drain that one just a little bit more. Again, turn my brush around, blend that back, blend back, blend back. And then again, I can turn my brush around, press that out so that it's even from side to side. And then we're going to blend that back. Now, depending on where you're trying to pull product, if we come in a little closer, if I'm trying to pull product back to my stress area, that's where I blend backwards. If I need to bring the bulk of my product down to the free edge, that's where I'll blend forward. So wherever you're needing product, that's where you're brushing and pulling that product, okay? All right, so at this point, if we take a look, we're going to have some filing to do, you guys. Don't panic, okay? It's not perfect. It's not meant to be perfect at this point. But what we want to check for is to make sure, do we have the proper structure in our nail? And yes, we do. We have a nice thin and tapered cuticle area. We have a little bit more bulk right at our stress area, and we have a little bit more thin and tapered down at our free edge, okay? So we're going to have a nice arch, a nice apex to this nail once we do our filing. But we do need to let that kind of set up a little bit more and before we actually can do our filing. So a couple of things. I'm going to set that nail off to the side. So I know a lot of you were saying that you wanted to see that core white sparkle. So I'm just going to show you guys just a quick little swatch here. Let me see if I can find a nail. All right, there's a nail. So I've got just a quick little sample here, you guys, so you can see what that core white sparkle actually looks like. And you guys, this is just a sample that I have of it. It usually comes in the containers like the rest of the acrylics do. So don't mind my little sample jar. All right, but that core white sparkle, it is a beautiful, beautiful soft white. You can see it's got a little bit of shimmer to it. So I'm just going to do just a quick overlay application here. Not trying to do anything perfect or anything fancy, but just kind of letting my product flow down the length of that nail so that you guys can see what this color is going to look like. And you guys watch that product flow. That's exactly what you want to happen. You want to have that right consistency where that product is going to move exactly where you want it to move, but you don't have to work it a whole lot. Okay, I can just kind of come in and tuck in those sides a little bit and perfect that nail without having to do a lot of work, okay? So once you guys have really practiced and perfected your consistency, you're gonna find that your product actually works for you instead of you having to work quite so much to get it into place. Now, disregard that one little piece of red glitter up there, but you guys, just so you can kind of see exactly what this beautiful core white sparkle looks like, just a hint of kind of a very mild multicolor glitter in there. And you guys, I'm telling you, camera doesn't do this glitter justice. There's a lot more color to it than what you actually see on camera here. But it's an absolutely gorgeous color for doing any kind of winter designs, snowflake kind of inspired winter icy kind of designs. So this is a beautiful background for a lot of those kind of colors and combinations. And you guys, we are going to do some stamping here this afternoon. And I do have a couple of nails that I've built out, and I do have one that I've used that core white sparkle on. So you'll be able to see the finished nail and what that looks like here in just a little bit. So let's take a look at our first nail here. Now, if we tap this, do you guys see how I'm kind of tapping with my nail? Otherwise, I can use my brush handle. If you don't hear a really sharp clicking, I don't know if you guys can hear that on camera, but hopefully you can. If you don't hear that sharp click, that means that your product isn't quite set yet, okay? So just using your brush handle, kind of tap that. I'm starting to hear a little bit of a sharper click. Back here, not quite yet. So that tells me that my product is still just a little bit soft. Now, in this time, it's not really wet anymore, but it is still kind of pliable. So this is where, if I want to, I can come in and I can pinch a little bit more of a C curve, okay? And you guys, those of you that have our magic wand, this is a great time to use it, because the magic wand, that was the same tool that we were using to push back the cuticles. On the other end, it's got a little pinching tool. So if you just put pressure on both sides right here, put pressure there, it opens up that little pinching tool. You can put that right up on the sides, let go, and it's going to pinch in that C curve a little bit tighter for you, okay? Now make sure though that when you're using this, that you, first of all, that product has to be kind of spongy still, but not wet and soft, okay? So if you try to pinch in that C curve too soon, you're going to squish your product, okay? So make sure that you're pinching in there. And then also, once you have that on, don't try to pinch it even more, okay? This has the proper amount of pressure to get that C curve nice and tight, but not putting too much pressure on there. If you use too much pressure, even with your fingers here, or if you try to use that magic wand and then you pinch even more, or you pinch kind of down here, that's going to be too much pressure, and that can actually damage that natural nail, okay? So make sure that you're letting that tool do the work for you and that you're not over pinching, okay? But you can kind of see from down the free edge, that gave us just a little bit of a tighter C curve, just really nice and tight towards that end. My product is still just a little bit soft and flexible, so I can still come in and pinch just a little bit more. Notice that if you're trying to do a little bit more of a tapered square or even a coffin shape, it's not going to pinch all the way down to that free edge. So sometimes I still will come in with my fingers and pinch down to that end. Now I'm starting to feel like my product isn't moving anymore, which is a good indicator that it's set. But also, if you tap on the back of that with your brush, you can hear that it's starting to come to more of that sharp clicking sound, okay? One more thing before we start doing our filing, you guys, make sure that you're always cleaning out your brush after you're done working, okay? So I always grab a clean table towel, and I always have my brush just sitting in that liquid once I'm done working on the nails. That way it's going to kind of soak out any extra monomer on there, and then I can wipe my brush out. Again, you guys, give it that good wipe, both sides, turn it over, wipe both sides. Don't just dab it, but by wiping that out, that's going to get any of the last little bit of acrylic out of there, so that when you go to use your brush next time, it's not going to feel clogged or kind of chunky or anything like that. But then I also go back into my liquid just a little bit and then roll my brush back to a point. So that's going to keep that really nice shape and keep your brush nice and clean. Okay, so always make sure you go through, clean your brush, and store your brush in either a closed container or somewhere that it's not going to get dust on it. Okay, you always want to make sure that you're not getting dust in your brush so that you don't, again, contaminate anything. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and take our form off. We're going to pinch that together underneath. I've got my dust collector here. We are going to crank that up to 10, get that good dust filter flow through there. And I'm going to grab my electric file again. So before we were using that sanding band, we're going to change that out. And I'm going to use my X-Cut carbide. Now you guys, you could also use the safety bit. These both have the same grit to them. They're both a coarse carbide. But the X-Cut carbide that I'm using here, it just has that flat top where the safety bit has that rounded top. So for beginners, if you're just starting using the electric file, you might be a little bit more comfortable with that safety bit. But you guys, whatever you practice with and get comfortable with is going to work great for you. Okay. All right, you guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button before we get into our filing. It's just that little red button. Just tap the little red button. All right, so I've got my e-file on about 15,000 RPMs, and I'm just going to start by pulling down the left side, straightening out my sides, pushing back on my right side, straightening out that right side. And you guys, all I'm doing is making contact. I'm not putting a lot of pressure with my bit, just making contact and pulling or pushing that bit, okay? Now, you guys, I was telling you, wait until, or if you don't get time to straighten out that free edge with your brush, you can always come through, straighten that out with your e-file. See how quick and easy that is? So spending a lot of time trying to perfect that with your brush is really not necessary, okay? And somebody's asking, so this part, is it dangerous? You guys, if you've practiced and you're comfortable and you know how your electric file works, this can actually be done very safely. I've been using the electric file on my clients for probably 20-something years now, and I'm pretty efficient with it, but I know the proper techniques to use, so I'm not going to damage or cut or injure my client or anything like that, okay? What I'm doing here is I'm straightening out those lower arches, just kind of pulling my bit straight down the end so that product is coming straight out in line with that nail. Now I'm not getting all the way back up into the corner here, and I'll get that with my hand file. Same thing on the other side. I didn't try to come all the way back up in here because I don't want to hit that skin with the bit, okay? So just straightening out that lower arch. Now I'm going to turn this finger, and you guys, the view that you're seeing, this is exactly what I'm seeing, okay? I'm just going to come right around that cuticle area, kind of thin and taper out that cuticle. Now I'm going to look right from the side view. And again, you guys, this is exactly what I'm seeing, okay? I'm going to start right down the center of the nail and come down to the sides. I'm not coming all the way across from side to side. I'm just working right down the center of the nail, and I'm just kind of thinning out a little bit right through kind of that bulky area up here. I don't have a lot of work that I need to do at that cuticle area. That's fairly thin and tapered, and my free edge is fairly thin and tapered. So all I really need to do is take down a little bit of that bulk from the center and then just kind of blend those other two areas together, okay? Now, if we take a look at this, you guys, this is the area that I'm working. I'm just working from the side, or sorry, from the center down to the side. Like I said, I'm not trying to come all the way across. If I'm looking at the nail from this direction and I try to bring my bit all the way back here, do you see how it kind of disappears behind that product? I lose control of that because I can't see exactly where that bit is going. A lot of times when people bring that bit all the way over to the side, they tend to catch the finger, and because of the rotation of the bit, it actually is going to pull that bit and kind of wrap that bit around. So this is where it can be dangerous. But by only working from the center of the nail down, rather than trying to come all the way across, that's going to keep your filing nice and safe, okay? Now, to get the bulk on those sides, we're going to look straight down the barrel of the nail. So at this point, let's come in, I've taken down the bulk from the center right here. Now all I need to do is just take down a little bit of that thickness from those sides. So I'm just going to use the base of my bit here on the right side, and then more of the top part of my bit there on the left to just kind of take down the bulk. Now notice that I'm not coming more into the center just yet. We'll get that in just a second, but we did take down the majority of the bulk here. So now I'm just kind of cleaning up those sides, making sure that those are even. Once I've got kind of a little bit more of a contoured surface all the way through, I'm going to pull all the way through, kind of float my bit all the way through from the left side, all the way up, all the way over, down to the right, maybe back again. And that's how I'm going to get that really nice tight contour all the way through. Okay. All right, I'm going to go back one more time from that side view. I always kind of do one last check on my side just to make sure my arch is still right where I wanted it. And I think we're good there. Okay. I'm going to switch back to my sanding band. Now this is an optional step. You don't have to. You could go right into your hand file at this point. But I like to switch to my sanding band just to give myself a little bit more refinement that I don't have to do with my hand file. So I'm going to go through all of those same motions that I just did with my X cut. I'm going to go up around that cuticle area. I'm going to turn that nail on the side. We're going to check that arch all the way through down to that free edge. And again, you guys, this is just refining. So it's just a little bit less that I have to do with my hand file. And again, you could go right into your hand file and that would be fine. But for me, I always try to do the majority of my filing with my electric file because it's much easier on my hands and on my wrists than using the hand file for everything. Now, do I know some nail techs that do use their hand file for everything? Yes. Do I think that there could be an easier way of doing it? Yes, you guys, I definitely think using the electric file is an easier way and a little bit easier on your body. So, just my personal opinion here. All right, you guys, I have a brand new file here. It's a 150 grit file. Anytime you get a brand new file, they do have a little bit of a sharp edge on them. So I always grab my prep file and I just have, it's an old 100 grit. You guys can use whatever files you want, but have a separate file for prepping your files. And all you're gonna do is just run that file right across the top, right through that whole top area, and then just kind of angle it just to catch those edges, take off any of those sharp edges, okay? All right, check that, all good there. Same thing on the other side. Check that edge, check that edge. And as I'm taking down my sharp edges here, you guys make sure to hit that subscribe button. Good time to do it. All right, so our file is prepped and ready to go. Now at this point, all we need to do is just kind of do a little bit of cleanup. So I'm going to straighten out my side walls. I'm going to straighten out my free edge. We're going to check our lower arches. Turn that hand on the side, check your lower arch. Make sure that that's coming nice and straight out from our natural nail. Same thing on the other side. Turn that hand all the way on the other side. Straighten out that lower arch. And then we're going to come back up into our cuticle area, just kind of tapering all the way through, down along those sides, kind of rounding out those sides a little bit. Same thing on my right side, tapering around that cuticle area, rounding out those edges a little bit. And then I'm going to turn that hand on the side view, come in a little bit here, and just kind of taper that back a little bit, so thinning out the free edge, tapering back up into my arch. And now I'm going to turn that hand around. So I'm going to turn my client's hand around and I'm going to look at her nail like she's going to see her nail. Okay, so from this view here. So this is where I'm going to check my sidewalls, make sure everything is nice and straight, nice and even. I think everything looks good there. My free edge looks nice and even. Make sure that's nice and straight across. And then I'm going to look backwards down the barrel of the nail. So you can see I've got a little bit of an uneven area right through here. So I'm just going to kind of float my file all the way up and over. And this is how I'm going to really smooth out that surface. Make sure that there's no high spots or low spots. Everything is just going to start to kind of blend together. So Just kind of looking at that backwards down the barrel. Just checking, making sure everything looks nice and even. Just kind of floating my file. And you guys notice that I keep my file in motion. This is going to avoid giving more flat spots. Because if you take your file and just kind of go in one direction like that, every time you file like that, you're putting a flat spot there. By keeping your file in motion, this is how we're going to get that nice smooth surface all the way through. And I think we are right about there. All right. So I think we're good to go here, you guys. Let's go ahead. Oops, looks like I may have filed just a little bit too much on that other side here. But not to worry. That would be an easy touch-up, you guys. I'm going to get into our art here, but you could put a little bit more acrylic on there if you needed to touch that up. Just adding a little bit more product right through here. Not a big deal, but I do want to get to our designs today. So we're going to assume that that turned out just fine. Okay. So I'm just going to dust that off. We are going to grab our swipe one more time. Take a little bit more of that on our manicure brush here and cleanse the nail. So we're going to get this nail ready to do our stamping on. And you guys, I've got a couple other nails that I have also pre-done, so I might add those in here. Actually, let's go ahead and put them on here. So I've got a couple of different nails that I just didn't necessarily need to do on camera, but gives you guys a little bit more options for stamping. So we've got a nice extra long stiletto nail. We've got an almond, kind of maybe a shorter stiletto. And then we've got a short little square, because you guys always ask for different lengths and different shapes. So I'm going to show you how to stamp on all of these different nails. Okay, so let's start with, what do we need for stamping? So let me grab a few things here for you guys. So we got those, we've got that, we've got that. Okay, so first things first, we need our stamper and our scraper. So our stamper and scraper come in a little kit like that. So this is our scraping card. Our stamper is a clear stamper. It's got a little plastic cover on it, so you can use that to keep everything nice and clean. It also has a plastic backing, but you can see through that all the way through. So you can see exactly where you're going to be putting your designs. You can kind of line those up. Make sure that you're not getting acetone on any of this, because it will kind of cloud up the plastic here, and you don't need acetone on that actual stamper, okay? Something that I like to do, I actually like to take off that little back part, because for me, my eyes need a little bit of help these days. So I actually like to take that out so that I can see right through that a little bit more clear. So you can leave it on or take it off, personal preference, whichever is yours, but always keep that top part on to keep everything nice and clean, okay? All right, so then we got our stamping card, or our scraping card. We've also got our little stamping cleaner tool. And this, you guys, this is an amazing little product here. It's one of those things that it's so simple, but it makes a whole world of difference. And you guys, it's just a little sticky, almost like a lint roller in there. And this is what you're going to use to clean off your stamper. So any dust that's on your stamper or any old polish that's on there, you can just run your stamper right across the top of that. And that's how you're going to clean that off. And then once you kind of get that whole area used, you can just peel off from the edge. Oops, where's my little edge? You guys don't use your nails as tools, but grab that little edge. All right, I'm gonna grab my nipper here. So just grab that edge, and then you can peel off that old paper, and then it's gonna leave you with a nice clean space to clean off your stamper. All right, we also have our gorgeous little case with all of our stamps in it. So when you get the new stamping plates, they do have a blue coating on them. All you want to do, just grab your nipper or another little tool, catch the edge of that. You do want to peel off this plastic backing. Don't try to stamp with that on there. And don't use your nails as tools, you guys. So just peel off that plastic backing, and then you've got that nice clean stamper to work on. Okay, so I'm actually going to grab a couple of these out of here. Well, I'm going to grab all 4 of them so you guys can see what we've got. And there we go. Okay, and then I'll set my little book off to the side here. Now, a couple of things with the stamping plates. When you get them brand new and you just peeled off that, that little adhesive protective layer, I always recommend grabbing, and again, you guys, it's those little table towels that I've cut up. I like to fold those little pieces, again, into quarters. And then I use our Onto the Next polish remover to just kind of clean those off. And just like I said, after you peel off that protective coating, it may have a little bit of kind of a texture or kind of a tacky feel to it. Just clean that off really well. And then also, once you've used your stamping plates, like this one, you can see that I have some polish on there still that I didn't clean off the last time. Same thing, just use a little bit of that Onto the Next polish remover, and that'll clean off those stamping plates really, really well. So always make sure that you're working on a nice clean surface. If you do have a little bit of polish residue in here, it's not going to pick up a really good, perfect design every time. Okay, so always make sure that you're working with a clean stamping plate. All right, so we've got our stamping plates here. Let's just do, you guys, let's just do kind of a basic run through on stamping, and then we'll get into a little bit more fun stuff. But again, I'm going to grab a few of those little cut up table towels. Let me come back so you guys can kind of see my setup here, because when you're doing stamping, it is a quick process, so you want to make sure that you have everything ready to go. Okay, you don't want to be kind of wasting time or dawdling or anything. So make sure, first of all, that your stamper's clean. Okay, so we're going to clean that off there. Stamper's ready. My scraping card is clean and ready to go. And let's just pick a design. Oh, what should we do? What should we do? You guys, I know the holidays are coming up, and if you saw one of our live streams earlier, I think it was last week, you can add different colors to all of these designs, change them up for the holidays, even though it's not like, you know, reindeer and Santa Claus and all of that kind of stuff. You can still use these designs as holiday designs, just using the holiday colors that you like. Okay, so choose what you like. Let's see, let's do, oh, what should we do? What should we do? Let's just do, okay, so this one is kind of one of my favorite designs, kind of that filigree design. I think it's just really pretty for really any occasion. So let's go ahead and use that one today. Now I am going to go through with one more coat of my protein bond. Remember, this is our bonder, that it works kind of like a double-sided tape. So this is going to give our nail a good tacky surface for our stamp to adhere to. And then we're going to also finish this nail with a gel top coat. So it's going to really help to adhere that gel top coat. Okay, so I always go through with a coat of that protein bond just to give a little bit of added insurance. And you guys, these are the Cover Pink Sparkle that I have on here, and then I also have, this one was that Core White, sorry, the Cover Pink Opal and the Core White Sparkle. So those of you that wanted to see both of those colors, I've got them both on there for you. Now, to do your stamping design, you want to make sure that you are working quickly. So let me find our color here. Oh, what color should we use? What color should we use? Should we do a little bit more bold today? Should we do kind of a, let's do some holiday kind of designs. So we'll kind of make them holiday-ish. One of my favorite colors, and this is actually what came in the stamping collection. This one is called Here's the Deal. And I love this one because it's got a little bit of a pearl tint to it, but it's a beautiful red for the holidays. So again, I'm going to come back out here so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to turn my stamp on the side this way. When I'm stamping, I want to make sure that I'm pulling my stamping card. I kind of put a little bit of pressure to it. I don't just go straight up and down because for me, I don't get quite that perfect pull. I kind of put a little bit of pressure to it, so it almost just bends that card just a little bit, pulling across, okay? For me, I'm right-handed, so I tend to work left to right. If you're a lefty, you can work right to left. You can work top down or bottom up, whichever way works for you. But when you're working on designs that are on kind of the side of that plate, I don't like to go from this direction and pull down, because a lot of times what happens is I tend to catch that edge and then I get kind of a choppy pull, okay? So I always go across that way, or if I'm kind of working here, same kind of thing. Make sure if you are pulling from the top down that you're not catching on the top, that you're kind of staying on the card and then pull down. If you're working in those center designs down here, you can go whichever direction works for you. Totally fine. Just depends on where that design is and that you're not going to catch, okay? So again, have everything ready. I've got my polish, I've got my stamper's nice and clean, I've got my card here, and I do have those towels on the side. So let me kind of come here. So I like to have those towels on the side because what I'm going to do, you guys, here's the process that I'm going to do. I'm going to put my polish onto my tile or onto my little plate here. I'm going to scrape. I'm going to wipe my stamper or my scraper card on the side here. That way it's going to help to keep it clean for future. So again, polish, scrape, wipe, stamp onto the nail. Okay, and that is really how fast you have to work, because if you wait too long, or say, let's go through a couple of scenarios. Let's go through here. Say, all right, we're going to put our polish on there and we're going to scrape. Now, you can see I didn't really have enough polish on there to fully get all the way down to the end of that design. Most likely, because I didn't have enough polish on there, it's probably going to dry really, really quickly. These are really fast drying colors, so it's going to dry pretty quickly because I didn't have a whole lot in there. By the time I get to picking that up, you can see it didn't pick anything up, okay? So you have to, first of all, make sure that you've got enough color on there. So let's go back, and again, I'm going to grab a little bit of that onto the next. Let's clean this off. And then let me show you what else can happen. So you guys, here's kind of some of the troubleshooting things that we've found that people have challenges with the stamping. So just kind of want to go through some ways to make your stamping life a little bit easier, okay? So first of all, make sure that you've got a good amount of polish on there. So kind of load it up. And then you want to just do one nice even scrape and then wipe your card, okay? So what that's going to do, so now you can see there's a good even amount of that color in there. Now something else that people tend to do is they'll scrape once, they'll scrape, they'll scrape, they'll scrape. I don't know why. I think people think that they have to make sure that that's perfectly even, so they continue to scrape and scrape. But what you're doing is A, you're scraping away all of your color, and B, it's drying. So you're not going to be able to pick up that good application, okay? So again, let's go ahead and clean off our stamper. We'll clean off our plate here. Clean that off really well. Okay, so here's how we actually want to do this. And I'm going to turn my camera just a little bit there so you can see everything that's happening here. So again, I'm starting with a nice clean stamper. I've got my polish. I've got my nail ready to go. I've got my scraper ready to go. Okay, so we're going to put, oh wait, I forgot we were doing this one. All right, so we're going to do our color. We're going to scrape, wipe, stamp, pick that up, and set that right down onto the nail. Now you guys, I'm putting a little bit of pressure onto this, but you can see all the way through where that design is lined up. If I hold that there, let me come in with the camera a little bit. You can really see exactly where that design is lined up. So however you want to place your stamps, you can place those, okay? So just kind of releasing that. Now we've got that beautiful design on there. Now, notice that right around the edges, it does have a little bit of kind of that overlap. Depending on what top coat I use, if I'm going to be using our Ultimate Finish top coat, Ultimate Finish is a tack-free top coat that doesn't need to be wiped off or cleansed. So if I'm using my Ultimate Finish, I'll go ahead and just take some of that onto the next polish remover. And let's see if you guys can see this here. I'll just pump a little bit of that up into the top, to that little top cup up top there. And then I just have an old art brush that I use. Dip that in there, and that's kind of going to be your eraser. Okay, so I'm going to use a little bit of that acetone, clean up around the edges, catch any of those sides that maybe kind of have little frayed edges off the side there. but this is going to be an easy way for you to clean up. And then you can apply your top coat, and I'm going to use gel top coats. For me, I love using the gel finish just because it's going to seal everything in and just make everything really nice and easy. Okay, we're going to wait to do our top coat. I'm going to show you a couple other odds and ends here with stamping. But again, you guys, make sure that you are working quickly like that. Okay, so once again, it's going to be apply your polish. Whoops. See, and you guys, even before you do this, make sure that you clean that stamper before you're ready to go to the nail, because you don't want to be taking that extra time to clean this while your color's on the plate. Okay, so again, you're going to, let me adjust the camera. There we go. Okay, so you're going to apply your color. You're going to scrape, wipe, stamp, and then onto the nail. Okay, so that quickly, that's as fast as you want to work. But again, you can see even right through there, even if I take off that little back side on there, you can see exactly where that stamp is going to go. Okay, let's clean that off real quick. Now, what happens when you've got an extra long nail like this and you want to do a design? Okay, some designs you're going to be able to fit onto an extra long nail like this. You can kind of work and stamp at a diagonal. So let me show you a couple of different things with this. Let me grab a different plate. Let's see. We'll do some fun things over here. So let's. Are we back? You guys let me know. I'm sorry, I'm not sure. Did I bump the mute? Are we back? Let me know. Are we back? All better? Okay, we're back. Okay. Sorry guys. Sometimes I get carried away when I'm adjusting the camera and I must have hit the mute button. So let me go back, and so we were talking about working on our extra long nails here. So sometimes you can apply the design at more of kind of from corner to corner down the length of the nail, and that's going to give you a little bit more length. But some designs like these here, see how they repeat themselves? It's basically the same design all the way through. You can actually double up on these stamps, okay? Let me show you what I mean. So let's grab our design, and I think I'm going to let's use this one. And you know what? Do we want red? No, you guys, I'm going to go a little bit more bold on this. I think we're going to get a little crazy here. I'm going to go with our Look Don't Touch, and this one is our black. So let me grab our black. Again, you guys, we're going to go, let's go with this design up here. It's a corner design. So I'm going to make sure that my stamper is clean. That is clean and ready to go. I've got my color here. I've got my scraper card. I've got my nail ready to go. All right, so we're going to take a little bit of that color, apply that to the stamping, scrape, wipe, pick up. I'm going to set that onto the nail, lining that up. This one I'm just going to kind of rock to the side a little bit. And you know what, you guys, I kind of shifted the side a little bit here, so it kind of went a little bit wonky. If you feel like your design isn't it's not turning out how you like it, take it off. You guys, this is just regular polish. And so I'm going to use just a little bit of that onto the next polish remover. I'm going to cleanse that off of there. So if something happens where your design didn't go on perfect, not a big deal. You can take it off and you can start again, okay? That is one of the joys of stamping, is that it is really this easy, okay? If you don't get it perfect on the first time, clean it off, start again, okay? All right, let's try again. Let's grab a little bit more of that black. We're gonna come through, we're gonna scrape, wipe, stamp, pick up. All right, let's set that right down there. Give some good pressure, side to side. All right, I think we are good all the way side to side. Okay, so again, I'm gonna just kind of press down those little edges a little bit. Now you can see on this nail, it didn't come all the way to the end, okay? That's okay. I'm gonna clean off my stamper. I'm going to clean off the plate, and we're gonna pick up the design a second time. Okay, so again, make sure my stamper is nice and clean. So again, we're gonna stamp that one more time, scrape that off, pick up. Now this is where having a clear stamper really comes in handy, because we're gonna look through there and we're gonna line this up and we're gonna set that down right onto that free edge. Okay, so now you can see we were able to fill in that free edge. I feel like I've got just a couple of little areas that didn't quite sit perfectly down. And I'm just gonna grab my liner brush. You guys, you can use whatever liner brush you want. Just like we were using before, I'm gonna take a little bit of that onto the next, into that top cup. And I can use this, let me come in a little bit. You can see there's a couple of those little edges. I can use that liner brush, just kind of like a little eraser with that polish remover on there. And I can use that to clean up those little edges that may not have been perfect. Okay, but again, you can overlap those designs that may not fit a super extra long nail here, but I can come back in and I can touch those up, okay? So just a couple of little tricks for longer nails. Just touching those up a little bit. And you guys, don't sweat it if it's not perfect, okay? When we do our top coat on here, everything is it's gonna look a little bit more clean. And I think sometimes when we're looking so close at these designs, we tend to overanalyze them. So don't worry too much if it's not 100% perfect. Or you guys, add a rhinestone. Add something over it, add some foil, add some color, add something to it, just to kind of touch up those little areas, okay? Just again, clean up my sides here. Clean up any little bits of that polish that may be hanging off the side. Sometimes you get a little bit of a frayed edge down there. Not a big deal, just clean that off with a little bit of that polish remover. All right, so that is how we're gonna work on an extra long nail. Now, what if we wanna do a French manicure? Now you guys, we got a couple options here. So one option, and this has been kind of my trick for quite a while. Actually, let me show you some of our French manicure stamps. So we can do some of these French manicure designs that already have that little smile line on there. So say we want to do, let's do this one. Let's use this one down here at the corner. We're going to use this as a French manicure on our stiletto nail here. Okay, let's take, how about, I think we're going to go with just white on this one. Okay, so white, this one is called Heaven Help Me. And again, we've got our polish here, we've got our stamper, we're cleaning that off. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button on our channel here. Get all of this great free education. And I'm going to give this plate one quick little cleanse just to make sure that I don't have any polish left on there. All right, so let's grab our white. Now on this one, you guys, I'm going to turn it this way. So I'm looking at my design like this. I could scrape with my scraper in this direction, but I still feel I get a better pull from this direction. So I'm going to turn that way. We're going to bring our white on there. We're going to scrape, We're going to pick up. We're going to line that up. I'm not even worried that that corner is off because I don't even need that corner. Yeah, you guys, I'm going to readjust that. It's not quite sitting how I wanted it to sit. So like I said, just take a little bit of that polish remover, cleanse that nail, and you can redo it. Not a big deal. And you guys, even if you have to kind of redo things a couple of times, for me, it's still faster than trying to hand paint a lot of these things. Because you guys, y'all know, if you've seen my videos here, I don't have the steadiest hand. So for me, it's much easier to use the stamps for my designs. Now you guys, I'm just gonna pop my little spongy part of my stamp up just a little bit. I kind of squished it down in there a little bit farther than what I needed to. And then let me just clean that off one more time. All right, so let's pick up our stamp again. Get that color on there. We're going to scrape, wipe, pick up our stamp, and then I'm going to line that up in there, coming all the way to the end of my nail. All right, so now we definitely have that on. And again, you guys, you can see a little bit of that. Let me come in a little closer. You can see a little bit of that polish kind of hanging off. Again, just using a little bit of that onto the next polish remover to just kind of catch that edge, make sure that's nice and sealed. Okay, get all those little frayed edges off of there. And I'm just coming from underneath that nail and just kind of brushing upward. So just enough to clean those off. All right, and if I need to, looks like I got a little bit kind of shifty on this side here. So I'm just gonna touch up that smile line just a little bit right there. Perfect. So you guys, you can definitely do your designs that already have that line on there. Otherwise, here's a quick and easy trick for you. Something that I like to do, especially on shorter nails like this, I will take one of my forms, and that little tab from the center, I'll grab that out of the center, and I'm going to use that as a guide. So let me just stick this right onto the nail, and you can use either this end. Let me come in a little closer. So you can use either this end, which is a little bit more elongated, or you can use the more rounded end, whichever works for you. But you're just going to stick that right onto the nail, and that's going to be your guideline for your free edge. Okay, now something else you guys can do, you can also do kind of that lanula look, that cuticle area look. So if you put that right at the top, you can have that other kind of a look. So on these kind of designs, let's see, I'm going to pick something that is a little bit more kind of full coverage. Should we do some animal print? Let's do a little animal print on that one. So let's grab the black. Black is always one of my favorite kind of standard colors. I'm going to make sure that's nice and clean. This one, you guys, I'm going to show you how to kind of put it across the top. So across that side, you can put across that side, pull that way. Whoops, I didn't clean my stamper clean. Pick that up, and then we'll set that onto the nail. Okay, so we're going to get that onto the nail, and then we can peel off that little form, and now we've got that cuticle space. Okay, again, we'll clean up our sides here. You guys, you can always add color to these. You can add gel paints. In one of our other demos earlier, I think last week, I showed you guys how to use the Mission Control gel paints to kind of touch up your designs and things like that. If you wanted to, you could actually come in. You know what? Let me grab our gel paints here. How about Aura? You guys, this is one of our Mission Control gel paints. It's just something kind of fun that you can do. Let me grab my liner brush here, just to add a little bit more to this design. I'll grab a little bit of that gel paint. I'm going to use my nail as a palette here. Let's just maybe come in and add just a little bit of that gold, just kind of as an outline here. Just a little something fun. if you want a little more color. And you guys, you could use the gel paints to kind of fill in maybe some of the little animal print dots. Again, just adding a little bit of color, anything like that, just to kind of give you a little bit of that outline. So you guys, it's not a ton of accent, but it's just a little bit of something fun. Now this is a gel paint, so it does need to be cured. The rest of these colors that I've been using have all been our Young Nails polish, and they are air dry. So the polishes that we're using, you don't have to cure, but if you are using the Mission Control for your accent colors or anything like that, that does need to be cured. So I'm gonna just grab this is our touch cure light, and I'm just gonna use that to just kind of set that into place really quickly, just to kind of freeze that so that it's going to be set before we do our top coat. Okay, so just a few seconds with the light just to kind of freeze that into place. You guys, let's do one other fun little addition, because we've got all these little kind of bubbles on this nail down here. Let's add a little bit more color to that too. And for that, I'm going to grab my little ceramic tile. And you guys, again, this is just a cheapy little ceramic tile you can find at the hardware store. But I'm also going to grab a few of these are the new, I think we called them the diamond gels, the one steps. These are our glitter polishes. So you guys, you can take some of these glitter polishes. And again, these are a gel polish. These are a one-step gel polish. They don't need an extra top coat or a base coat, but you can use them. You can use a base coat and top coat with them. But just whatever kind of colors you want. I'm just kind of trying to decide which ones I want to use here. I don't think I want this clear. I think I'm liking that blue. Yeah, maybe we'll just use the blue. Maybe a little pink too. We'll see. Let's kind of see how these play out here. Maybe a little bit of gold. Yeah, I like that color too. And what's our last one? Okay, let's see here. All right, so 2, 4, 5. What color am I? Oh yeah, this one was the one that I didn't want. But there are 6 of these colors, so you can kind of choose which ones that you want to use. But I'm again gonna grab. Oops. I'm gonna grab my little liner brush here. I'm gonna clean that out. And you guys, you can take these gel polishes. Let me come in a little bit more. You can see a little better. And you can use these to kind of fill in those little bubbles. Again, just to kind of accent your designs, give you a little something else, a little something fun, a little more color. And again, I'm just kind of dropping a little bit of each of those colors wherever I want to. Just kind of filling in that space, adding just a little bit here and there. So you guys, use the stamps as kind of your base design, and then you can use your gel polishes. You can use more of the YN polishes to do your accents and to do art. I'm just adding some of these different colors in here to fill in these little bubbles. So you guys, for the holidays, you can use holiday colors. If whatever holiday is coming up, choose your colors. Just add in those little accents here and there. But you guys, this is why I love using the stamps, because you guys know that I do have a little bit of a shaky hand. So for me to try to hand paint a lot of designs like this, it doesn't work very well. But by being able to use the stamps as kind of my outline, and then using the other paints and other options to kind of accent in, it just makes my life that much easier. So we can kind of fill in those, and I'm going to leave a couple of them just empty like that. But again, I can grab my little touch cure light, freeze those into place, and then I think we're going to go ahead and top coat, because I think I've run out of nails here, you guys. So we'll finish freezing this. Let's do our top coat, and I'm going to go back to my Ultimate Finish top coat because it's one of my favorites. And it is a one-step top coat, so it doesn't have to be cleansed at the end. Once it's cured, it's going to be fully cured. So we're just going to top coat right over these designs. And you guys, on these nails, I did apply the protein bond before we did our stamps. So we're not going to have to worry about reapplying protein bond or anything like that. Let's make sure we got enough of our top coat on this extra long nail here all the way down through the end. So you guys, I almost forgot. Let's do our top coat chant in the chat. I got carried away with our designs. So those of you that are new to our channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And those of you that have been around here, make sure you've hit that subscribe button. But go ahead and start our top coat chant in the chat if you guys haven't already. And let's get our designs finished up here. So you can see on some of these nails we did use that Cover Pink Opal acrylic, and then on the white one we used the Core White Sparkle. So you can change up your designs for the holidays. Again, that Core White Sparkle is a beautiful color for when you're using, doing kind of snowy kind of designs and things like that. The Cover Pink, I have to stop and think, Cover Pink Opal is a beautiful color, just kind of for an overall color. So I did get our, hand into the light. Again, with the Ultimate Finish top coat, that does cure for a full 60 seconds. I'm just gonna kind of freeze it into place so that you guys can see that finished look. So that was about 15 seconds in there. So now you guys can see all of the fun different designs and combinations that you can do with those stamping plates. So hopefully you will give these a try. You guys make sure that you tag us if you do designs like this. Let's see, somebody was asking what did she use on for the glitter dots. The glitter dots were our one-step gel polishes. These came out in the, I believe it was in the acrylic mystery box. So just a quick, easy way to kind of update your designs, add a little sparkle to them. Let me come in a little closer. I'll show you kind of each individual nail there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed our lesson today. I know we went a little bit longer than we normally do, but hopefully you guys had a good time and enjoyed all of our designs today, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks guys, we will see you back next time.